We need to talk sides. Hey everybody, welcome back to Thoughts by Jay Brown. And yes, you can just tell by the lighting that I'm recording this video at the same time that I recorded my New Year's video. And so I'm going to try to make this brief because this is one that I've been meaning to get off the top of my chest for quite a while, but I haven't had the compunction to get out here in my car to record it, let alone sit down and write about it on my Substack. So let's talk about sides, and specifically the changing of sides, or what appears to be changing of sides. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how Bill Maher, Cenk Uygur, and Kasparian, Brianna Wu have been changing sides, that they're now becoming right-wing and things like that. They're not. They are not. No matter what you guys think they are nothing more than people who are coming back to a more reasonable position. They're still left of center or left wing, hell, even progressive in some cases. But the talking to the other side, the hearing out of the other side on their positions and things like that is not something that is inherently wrong with them. It is what we need in this time. So people claim that, the likes of Konstantin Kisin, Carl Benjamin, Tim Pool, that they are right-wingers. No, those guys are still pretty much left-wing as well, too. But they embrace more of the right-wing side of things because they understand that maybe I do need to be right-wing adjacent to call out some of the reasonableness on this side. But then you have people like Constantine calling out the woke right and whatnot. And I want to say, is that Andrew Doyle? Or I can't remember the name off the top of my head. No, it's not Andrew Doyle. It's somebody else. I just can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't want to mess with my phone. But basically, if I think about it, I'll post up their name here somewhere of who I meant. But basically, when it comes to sides, we need to realize that there is no one side versus the other. It's basically our own personal bubbles and how they overlap in various Venn diagrams. And unlike the woke oppression Olympics, who has the most overlap here or there, what you're seeing more or less is people coming to their senses and realize, I've not done anything to make the world a better place. I've done everything to divide it and make it worse. And you see people like Anna and Cenk and Brianna Wu coming to that realization. They're not being red-pilled. They're not being anything. They're just waking up from the ideological trance they've been in. And I think that it's a great thing for us. I think it's a great thing to see people that are popular and vocal, do that. Sorry about that. But recently, just yesterday, Brianna Wu talked about how doing this has been a career killer or harmful to her career. And I retweeted back to her. She never responded, which fine. She gets, probably thousands of tweets a day in response to her tweets. So I'm lost in the shuffle. That is perfectly fine. But the point being, I told her that she has more support out there than she realizes. A year and a half ago, I would have been like, Brianna Wu, that crazy nutter, whatever. But after getting a chance to hear her talk on trigonometry and then start following more of her work, I realized that she's not the person she was. She's realized that there's been issues on both sides and that we need to be able to come together. And we can't come together if we're at each other's throats all the time. Anna Kasparian's talked about her, issues, and realizing that it's like, oh, how dare you call it the homeless people for doing, something vile to you. And Cenk's kind of more so after the election, but still starting to not see the error of his ways, but, beginning to see things differently. I find it rather refreshing that he's actually considering changing his perspective on stuff. Now, do I wholeheartedly accept all these people changing their positions and their beliefs? No. There's going to be some overlap where they're going to have a hard line on something. That's fine. They're entitled to their opinions. They're entitled to their views. And it is not for us to critique them and blame them for having maybe even conflicting views, because we are human. To err is to human. So, as I sit here with the light fading around me, but I just want to say to Brianna Cheng, anybody that's taking flack for either changing their position or the appearance of changing their position, you're not alone. And if you do so earnestly and honestly, people are going to accept that you're making these changes, and that is a good thing. The more we can moderate and actually come back together and actually talk about issues rather than shouting about issues, the better we will be. Now, I'm going to call out somebody here who I think has swung a little too far in his own stances on things. That's Steve McRae and the trans issues. I don't think that he truly understands where his position is coming from, or in the fact of how his position is perceived in the world. And if he does, he doesn't care, which is fair. But I think they're in the debate of the trans issue, and people will hate me for whether I take one side or the other. It doesn't really matter to me. I think that there is a debate to be had about trans care, transitioning versus not transitioning, when it's appropriate, whatnot. And for the most part, I side with Steve in the fact that transitioning as children, being put on puberty blockers, things like that, can be detrimental. But I'm also willing to hear out the possibility that it could be beneficial. We just need more long-term studies on it. But people don't want to hear that's the case, that we need long-term studies, etc., blah, blah, blah. We need to find a common ground. And this constant shouting over each other, like I've seen Steve interact with Brianna Wu, and I don't agree with what Steve does on some of those. I also don't agree with Brianna on some of the stuff that she talks about either. But Brianna has more experience with it than I do because Brianna's trans. And I don't have a problem with being wrong. I don't have a problem with, having conversations. So this is kind of just a vent to get it off my chest. This isn't any factual information. This isn't going to be like a standard type of my videos going forward. But with that said, I do wish Brianna a healthy recovery with her voice, and hopefully things will be able to be resolved. If not, just remember the penny's mightier than the sword, Brianna. For anybody that's changed their position or perceived to have changed their position radically, just know that while you're going to take flack, those people that are giving you flack from your old side were never really there to support you to begin with. They just agreed with you because you agreed with their politics. And if you're honest about it, the people who stick with you or the people who join you and you're honest with them about it, they're going to be the ones that are truly your supporters. So, and while I might not be able to support anybody really financially right now, just know that if I could, I would. So, and with that, I'm going to let you out of here and take care. We'll see you next time. Peace.